In the headlines this morning, temperatures plummet in Ukraine. The power grid coming under an extra strain. 10 million Ukrainians without electricity after another wave of missile attacks. Let's find out how our friend Joseph Lindsley is doing today. Joe, where are you? What's going on?
Well, Bob, good afternoon from Lviv. I'm speaking to you by candlelight from a centuries-old cafe on a snowy day here on the central square of Lviv. And around me are paintings of ancient Galician kings, Polish and Ukrainian kings fighting battles from centuries ago. But the candlelight is not because there's no power. We do have power. It's in many of the cafes and coffee houses of Lviv, even in time of peace, there's often people like to dine by candlelight. So the people of Lviv, at least, are used to kind of living in darkness. It's part of the aura of this city. And it's also, I think, a sign of resilience. They kind of like living in medieval times anyway, and so they'll be able to withstand this long, what will be a long winter. All that notwithstanding, in our news bunker where I stay when I'm here in Lviv, we didn't have hot water through the night and through the morning. And with that, when you have these sort of personal interactions, like the fact that you can't get hot water, you realize that's a decision that came from Moscow, right? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, what does Russia want? And what is the goal of this? And, when you listen to Russian officials, for example, the foreign minister speaking in Indonesia at the G20 summit, Russia always puts the blame on the Kyiv government. And that propaganda, those words, we even hear that in the American press. We hear people, who are rightly afraid of the nuclear threat, and they say that the pressure is on the Kyiv regime. I see those words very often in American media. The Kyiv regime needs to negotiate. And here, this is what Putin wants people to think. They want people to think that Zelenskiy is the problem, that the Ukrainian government, that they are the ones who need to negotiate, because Putin's propaganda would completely fall apart if he told the truth, which is that his enemy is not the government in Kyiv, it's the people of Ukraine, the people who refuse to be controlled by Putin or by anyone. And that's why the Ukrainians, kicked out the pro-Putin regime in 2014. And so if Zelensky for 1 second, said we can negotiate on some terms without having Ukraine's territory and Ukraine's freedom, the people would get a new president. And that's really a key thing to emphasize. And I think that's why, we see that Putin realizes that. I mean, that's, this war is being prosecuted because he cannot control the Ukrainian people. And so that's why we see these attacks on the infrastructure. He knows, he hopes that the only, after 9 months of this war, the only way to stop the Ukrainians, he thinks, is to freeze them, to break their spirit. And that's the only possible tactic he has. But knowing everything I know about Ukraine and, the years that I've been here through the pandemic, that's impossible because that spirit is so resilient. But all of these infrastructure attacks, he is directly targeting the civilians and the people of Ukraine. That's been his mission since the first moments of February 24th.
Yes, obviously trying to target that indomitable spirit. Joe, when you get together with folks in the cafes, people must reminisce about life before the war, don't they?
There is some of that. Yeah, there are moments of that. And it's, in some ways, it's hard to remember those times. It's an interesting question, Bob. I'm running through my mind to see how often we've done that. There's always a bit of that in every conversation, really, with a little bit of sadness, whether it's people talking about, their hopes and dreams, their business plans, or, that was a big topic in the summertime because we were, people are used to, enjoying even now in the winter, normally people would be preparing to go skiing in the Carpathian Mountains or to travel to Europe and things that they can't do now. So there is a lot of that, but there's, I don't see, even and everyone has moments when they kind of lose their spirits a bit, but I don't see, this is the first days of winter and already we're dealing with, throughout the country, for example, in the city of Dnipro now, widespread power outages, no heat, and people are still able to laugh and carry on. And that's really the secret is that resilience and that cheerful defiance of the Ukrainians.
Joe, in the minute we have left here, can you tell us about your encounter with people in the cafe? Was it yesterday that they said thank you for speaking for Ukraine?
Yeah, so I just finished the broadcast, and I was so focused on speaking with you, and I didn't notice that everyone in the cafe was listening to me. And there was two families, one from the city of Dnipro and one from the city of Kyiv, and they just applauded afterward and said, "Thank you for sharing the truth of Ukraine." And then they told me stories of their different cities and how they've been surviving through the war. And so, but they loved there were such smiles in their faces when they found out, when I told them I was speaking to the people of Chicago. And that's, that matters a lot for Ukrainians to know that the people are listening to their struggle and to their story.
And we appreciate the videos you send, and we post them. So if you go to WGNradio.com, the Sirott Show page, you'll find them. Well, let's hope for a peaceful weekend, and we will connect Monday, Joseph.
Bob, talk to you Monday. Thank you.
As I've said before, Joseph Lindsley, world's most interesting man.
This I find in my garden. It's peace from rocket.
Help us to win in the war.